Welcome to the class of Social Science, History, chapter number 2, part 2 for class 8. The name of the chapter is From Trade to Territory. I repeat, the name of the chapter is From Trade to Territory. In part 2, we are going to discuss some topics, and the topics or the contents of part 2 are recap of part 1, Robert Clive, Sirajud-Dowlah, the Battle of Plassey, and the Battle of Buxar. So let's quickly have a short recap of part 1. In part 1, we discussed about that how do East India Company, the British East India Company got settled in India. How did the foreigners, the foreign trading companies came to India? It all started with the invention of Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama, who was a Portuguese sailor, he came to India by the sea route, and behind him several other countries also came to India like French, Dutch, British, and the Spanish, Swedish, and so many other countries. The reason behind all the trading work was that as India was said to be a land, a golden bird, because of its cultivation, of its production of spices, production of silk, production of pearl. So in this case, all the other trading companies, all other countries wanted to have some trade with India, and they wanted to get those things from India itself. So here, especially on the coastal route, because in the previous time there were no land routes coming to one country to another. People were going through the coastal areas. So through the coastal areas from the south, as you all know, that the southern region is totally being covered with the coastal areas. It's a peninsula. So there the countries, other countries, they all invaded India. They all came to India for trading purposes. But after coming here, they all found that after the death of Aurangzeb, who was said to be the Mughal ruler, the last Mughal ruler, dominated one. It means the most powerful, who was actually a good Mughal ruler, who actually made his, showed his supremacy. And after his death, the Mughal rulers, all the rest of Mughal rulers, they all became very weak. And just for that, what happened, the outsiders, the companies, the trading companies which were there in India, they all tried to capture or take the advantage of this weak point, and they started ruling our nation. Now let's discuss about Robert Clive. Robert Clive, who was from the East India Company. Actually, his name was Major General Robert Clive. He was the first Baron Clive, who born on 29 September 1725 in Satchel, Shropshire, England, and he died on the 22nd of November 1774 in London. Robert Clive was the first British administrator of Bengal, who was one of the creatures of the British power in India. In his first governorship, he won the Battle of Plassey and became the master of Bengal. And the second governorship, he recognized the British colony. With the helping hand or with the coordination of Warren Hastings, he was also being called the founder of British Empire in India. He became as a writer of East India Company, who established the military and the political supremacy of the East India Company by securing the decisive victory on Bengal. Now what does that decisive means? Decisive means over here that very oftenly and very strongly victory. They were at present, after the East India Company got established, Calcutta became the central state or the central place for the East India Company. That's why we are able to see so many monuments of East India Company, especially in Calcutta. So this was Robert Clive. Now you know what, students, Robert Clive was so cunning and so clever. As I told you, in Carnatic War, what had happened? French were having the duplex. He was a very cunning person and a great soldier. Okay, same like here, Robert Clive was coming from the British company, and he was also similar to the duplex. Now, here in the EIS, here in the EICs, what happened? That in the armed forces, he made a very small people were there, very small troop were there, but in spite of that small troop, he made it a very, very strong army. Okay, just small few guards, for example, I can say 10 people were there in the army as the guards, but very slowly and steadily he made a army, so many people in this army who really fought for East India Company. Now Clive joined all those people as an officer and had a great influence, and he always tried to motivate others, motivate his soldiers to go for the betterment. Now in 1751 what happened? Clive led 500 men against 10,000 French and Indian soldiers, and you know what the result was? He won the battle also. Imagine 500 soldiers in comparison to the 10,000 soldiers of French and Indians. Okay, but still those 500 soldiers won the battle. Clive led the EIC's army to victory many more times, okay, forcing the French out. Yes, Robert Clive was said to be the main dominated person who made the French company, the French East India Company, out of the India. And government was taking under, okay, India was totally been coming under his power, under his supremacy, and this how he set to establish East India Company. And usually it was saying that it is actually a British business, nothing else apart from it. Now let me introduce you all to Siraj ud Daula, Mirza Muhammad Siraj ud Daula, who was born in 1733. 2nd July, the last independent 1757 ruler, who commonly known as Siraj ud Daula, who was the Nawab of Bengal. The end of his reign marked the start of the British East India Company inside India, especially over the rule of Bengal. Later on, the entire South Asia. Now, Siraj succeeded his maternal grandfather Alivardi Khan as the Nawab of Bengal in April 1756 at the age of just 23. Betrayed by Mir Zafar, then commander of Nawab's army, Siraj lost the Battle of Plassey on 23rd June 1757. Now, what happened, students, that Siraj ud Daula actually became the Nawab, and he was a really good ruler too. He never wanted that any other foreign country or any other invader should go for any more existence in this world, in this India especially, and overcome on their throne. So what he did, when the British East India Company offered to just propose them and showed them, forwarded a friendship hand towards them, he rejected that, and he also rejected to accept the policies of the British Empire. So in that case, the East India Company decided for have a battle, and over there the Battle of Plassey occurred, where the Battle of Plassey was fought between the British East India Company (EICs) and the Siraj ud Daula army, the Nawab of Bengal, because he totally rejected and refused to make the East India Company enter into his area. But here the Mir Zafar was actually the commander of Nawab's army, and he betrayed him. Betrayed means who made him a conspiracy against his own Nawab, okay, who cheated, who revealed all the confidential activities or the policies or the strategies which was Nawab was making for his army to one, and he disclosed everything to the East India Company, just in a bribery that East India Company told him and offered him that if you will help us, obviously we will be offering you and making it, after the battle we will make you the Nawab of Bengal. Now on 23rd June 1757, finally in the Battle of Plassey, Siraj ud Daula and his army was defeated. The forces of East India Company under Robert Clive invaded the administration and Bengal fell into the hands of Company. So Battle of Plassey was the first fight in India which was among the Indian ruler and the East India Company. Now let's discuss and tell you about the Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey, which is said to be the first battle between the East India Company, the British East India Company and the Indian rulers. The Battle of Plassey occurred on the 23rd June 1757 at Palace, Bengal, okay, where the East India Company defeated Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula, who was the Nawab of Bengal, exactly, who was the Nawab of Bengal. And here, after this defeating of Sirajuddaula, East India Company overcome and took over the power or the conquered the place of Bengal, which was said to be the most important place because as being on the coastal side of river Hooghly, it was a prominent place for trading, and usually the people used to come from that side itself, from the Bay of Bengal. So they conquered the first major seaport, the sea area of India. That was the Calcutta, or that is said to be a Calicut now. Now, in the Battle of Plassey was AD 1744 to 1763. On 23rd June 1757 at Plassey between Calcutta and Murshidabad, the forces of East India Company under Robert Clive met the army of Sirajuddaula, the Nawab of Bengal. The Battle of Plassey marked the first major military success for British East India Company here. Now, here what happened, the first major East India Company won the battle, okay, and the troops, the policies, the soldiers, whichever they having, they were very, very highly qualified. So that's why Sirajuddaula army was unable to defeat that. Now, here actually students, one thing that had happened over here, that in the Battle of Plassey, there were some criteria, some situations arose over there. Now, what were those problems? Due to some good technical skills, some fighting skills, some warfare skills, as per under the guardianship of Robert Clive, it was something very different from the Sirajuddaula. The problem arose with an alliance was distributed with the rule of Nawab of Bengal. Actually, this was the basic cause of this battle, because Nawab refused to accept any sort of proposal from East India Company. Now here, after that, Sirajuddaula's army with 50,000 soldiers, 40 cannons and 10 war elephants, they all attacked, or they all had a fight with East India Company. But this war continued for 11 hours, and after 11 hours, finally Sirajuddaula's army got defeated by the East India Company, and East India Company took the place as and supremacy, or established their supremacy inside India. Now let me give a small introduction about the Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey was a major battle that took place on 23rd June 1757 at Palashi, Bengal. The battle took place in Plassey, Bengal on the river banks of the Bhagirath Hooghly River, the distributary of the Gangas. The fighting took place around 150 kilometers north of Calcutta. They were near Murshidabad, which was the capital of Bengal at that time. Plassey was an anglicised version of Plassey. The battle was between Sirajuddaula and East India Company under the kingship of, or under the governorship of Robert Clive. Now here this battle was fought between the headed by Robert Clive and the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula, and this French troop. French troop was actually helping Nawab to overcome or to dominate the East India Company. This battle is often termed as a decisive event which became the source of ultimate rule of East India Company inside India. The battle occurred during the reign of Mughal Empire, called the later Mughals, almost after the Aurangzeb's death. Mughal Emperor Alamgir rule was ruling the India from on behalf of the Mughal Empire when this Battle of Plassey took place. Now you know students, this Battle of Plassey was said to be the first battle which was against the East India Company and the Indian rulers. Okay, Sirajuddaula was, as I told you all, he was the last Nawab of Bengal, and East India Company after this battle took over the territory of Bengal. This battle took place after the attack on the Panda of the Calcutta by Sirajuddaula and the Black Hole, the Calcutta tragedy. Okay, the trouble between the Sirajuddaula and British led to the Battle of Plassey. First, the British had threatened the fortification around Fort William without telling the Nawab. Here what actually happened, that during this battle what happened, that East India Company was actually encouraging or empowering their power, okay, increasing their power without making notification to giving anything related to Nawab. Okay, they didn't give any information to Nawab, and without informing them, they were just increasing their power slowly and steadily. Okay, this all led to the Battle of Plassey. Secondly, they abused the trade privileges granted to them by the Mughal rulers. They abused, it means whatever the privileges were being given, the facilities, the benefits were being given by the Mughal rulers, by even the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula too, they were all refusing that, they were abusing, they were insulting those things, okay, and they were trying to do whatever they like to do inside country. Third, they gave shelter to some of the officials, from example, Krishnadas, son of Raj Vallabh, who fled Dhaka after misappropriating government funds. Okay, what actually he did? Krishnadas actually made the advantage or misused the treasury, misused the funds. Okay, and as he was being recognized for his sin, he fled away to Bangladesh. Now here, East India Company was actually helping that person, or had taken that person in their own concern, in their own army, okay, which was helping the people, helping the East India Company to overcome or overrule Sirajuddaula, son of Bengal army. Now, the company did not stop after giving several warnings. They did not stop, and finally this Battle of Plassey took place. Now let's discuss with the causes of the Battle of Plassey. Number one is the rampant misuse of the trade privileges given by the British by the Nawab of Bengal. Second one is non-payment of tax and duty by the workers of the British East India Company. Now here, previously you all know that the tax was being levied by the people, by the citizen, which was given to the king. Now here again, as East India Company came for the trading purposes, there were some percentage of the tax which they have to pay to the Nawab. But East India Company stopped of giving any sort of payment. Okay, so there was no payment more for the taxes and the duty by the workers of East India Company. This also let Sirajuddaula go against the East India Company. Other reasons for the supporting for coming of this battle was fortification of Calcutta by British without Nawab's permission. Okay, Fort William, they were trying to capture that, they were trying to make it the center head, okay, without giving any prior information to Nawab Sirajuddaula. Now, next is misleading Nawab on various fronts by British. Now, misleading over here means that whatever they are trying to do, they were making the conspiracy, they were creating the conspiracy against the Nawab, okay, but in front of the Nawab, they were already informing the good things, they were not involved, just revealing the facts that what actually they are planning to do so. And asylum was provided to Nawab fugitive, okay, Krishnadas. Now asylum over here means a sort of a shelter was being given to the fugitive. Fugitive means a person who ran away from saving himself to get punishment, okay. So here what happened, Krishnadas, as I told you, that Krishnadas was a person as an officer in the Nawab's court. What he did, he misused the funds of the Nawab, of the treasury of the king, of the kingdom. And when he was fought for that sin, he fled away to Bangladesh. Now here, as he fled away to Bangladesh, British East India Company helped that Krishnadas to fled away and always supported that person. So they gave a proper asylum, a proper residential area to Krishnadas to stay properly over there. Now let's discuss about that who were the participants who held in the Battle of Plassey and what role actually they played in the Battle of Plassey. You all know that usually two major people who were involved in this Battle of Plassey was Sirajuddaula and the East India Company generals or officers, Robert Clive, especially the head. Okay, now first is Sirajuddaula, Nawab of Bengal. Involved in the Black Hole tragedy, he was imprisoned. He imprisoned actually 146 English persons who were lodged into a very tiny room, due to which 123 of them died of suffocation. Okay. Next one, adversely affected the rampant misuse of trade privileges by the EICs. Attacked and seized the English fort at Calcutta. It brought their hostility into open. Now what actually Sirajuddaula did? Sirajuddaula actually, Black Hole tragedy, it was a tragedy where the people from East India Company, they were coming inside the country in a very secret manner. So what he did, as he thought that it's all a conspiracy against his ruler, is against his kingdom, so he make it imprison. They made them, gave them the punishment and made them seized in a very small tiny room. And how many people were there? They were 146 people, in which around 123 people died just because of the suffocation, because there was no proper ventilation in that room. Now this was the first reason that made the East India Company against the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula. Now next is said that adversely, after especially the whatever the trading was being given, the trading facilities were being given, some privileges were given by the Mughals to EICs over here, he was not liking that why these people are making, abusing or not following the rules and regulations. This also make this battle happen. Now he also, what he did, at the Calcutta there was an English fort, that was Fort William. Now what he did, he attacked that fort and seized that fort under his kingship. And here the most important thing had happened, that East India Company didn't like this activity at all, and after that their frustration, their anger regarding or against Sirajuddaula rose in the air. Now here Sirajuddaula was a ruler who really wanted that the foreigners, the foreign companies should not go beyond this limitation. They should not conquer the East, this whole entire India or his own kingship at any cost. So now the second person over here is Robert Clive. Robert Clive, who was from the East India Company, EIC. Now what he actually did, he gave an asylum, a residential or a shelter to the political fugitive Krishnadas, okay, which made Sirajuddaula against Robert Clive and East India Company. Second thing that what he did, and what his company did, that was they were all misusing the trade privileges which are being given to them by the Mughal rulers. Okay, now here what sort of misuses they were doing with the trade privileges, that if they were being given some small proportion of facility or reservation, they were trying to capture more and more without authority. Okay, forcefully they were telling the people to give them those authorities. Okay, next was fortified Calcutta without Nawab's permission. Now here, as you all know, that Nawab Sirajuddaula had already captured the Fort William, the fort of the British East India Company, by attacking and seizing them. After that, Robert Clive slowly and steadily made up his army, and after making his army, a small army, they all slowly and steadily were conquering the fort without giving any information to Nawab or without taking or seeking any prior permission from the Nawab itself. Okay, that yes, we can go and stay there, we can go and live there, we can perform their work, whatever we are working. But Robert Clive and his troop did not inform about anything, which made Sirajuddaula very angry from Robert Clive and East India Company. Now, here comes Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar, who was the commander-in-chief of Nawab's army. Now, he is said to be the most rivalry or the conspiracy person of this battle, because in spite of being in Nawab's army, he helped the British East India Company. He was being bribed by East India Company that if you will help us, we will make you the king of Bengal. Okay, he was to meet the Bengal by EIC after conquering this battle. Okay, and they were all doing a great conspiracy against Sirajuddaula because they don't want Sirajuddaula to continue his kingship. Now, what Mir Jafar did, as being a greedy person regarding the wealth and the power and the political power, especially of the position of a king, he held and cheated Sirajuddaula during the battle. And what actually happened over there, students, that when the battle started, there was a final last troop which was being given and under the king authority of Mir Jafar, that he was being told at this time when every person will be going or dying, or we were seeing that we are having a less army left for fighting. At that time, your troop will enter and help us for conquering the battle. But here, Mir Jafar stopped his army over there. They did not move to help Sirajuddaula and his army, and that's how the Sirajuddaula lost this army and lost his life also. Now there are some more rulers, Indian rulers, who came in the time of Battle of Plassey. But these all rulers were those who really made some sort of conspiracy against Sirajuddaula, and who were said to be the people responsible for his death also. Rai Durlab, the Hindu ruler, what he did, he joined his army with Sirajuddaula, but when the army wanted or required Rai Durlab's army was just standing. They did not came for any sort of help. Okay, they just on the wording itself they simply said that yes, we are with you. The army is standing there. Whenever you require, you can call them. But when the invitation was being given to come to help them over there, he did not help anyone, and over there he was just sitting with his troop like this. Jagat Seth, who was an influential banker, what he did, he was actually said to be who was being in a conspiracy against imprisonment also and ultimate killing of Sirajuddaula also. Okay, he was the most responsible person for all these things. What he did, he took the advantage of his position. He made and created a conspiracy with the help of East India Company to arrest Sirajuddaula. Okay, and after arrest also, they tried to kill them, and they finally killed Sirajuddaula over there. Next is Omchand, that is Bengal merchant. He was actually one of the principal authors of conspiracy against Nawab, and he actually associated his territory negotiated by Robert Clive. Okay, what he did, he made a friendship hand towards East India Company. Okay, and after this, what happened? After this, he started creating a conspiracy against Nawab of Bengal, that whatever he was writing in a favor of Sirajuddaula only. But when the person was reading carefully, any person who's reading very carefully, it was totally sorted out that yes, Omchand was actually betraying Sirajuddaula, and he was actually in the favor of East India Company. Now, what were the effects of the Battle of Plassey? apart from British getting the political power in the northern India, but only after Nawab, there were several other effects also in many forms that came out after this battle. And what was they? They were be totally categorized or divided into two parts. Number one was the political effect, and number two is the economic effect. Number one, political effect, as the name is clear to you all, it is related to the political aspects of ruling the nation, and economical sector, as it was being captured, they all captured as such a good and a wealthy place. So obviously the economic effects held over the East India Company too. Now, what are the political effects that came after the Battle of Plassey over? The Battle of Plassey resulted at the end of the French forces. Number two, Mir Jafar was being crowned as a Nawab of Bengal, and you all know that Mir Jafar was actually in favor of East India Company. So he was actually said to be a puppet in the hand of East India Company. Mir Jafar was unhappy with the position and instigated the Dutch to attack the British in order to consolidate his foundation. Now, Mir Jafar was a very greedy person. So what he did, in spite of helping East India Company taking the position, and after that when he found that everything is going wrong against him, so what he did, he took the help of Dutch company to please come and join us, and by which we can go and make this East India Company out of the world. Okay, next is Battle of Chinsura was fought between the Dutch and the British forces on the 25th November 1759, which also made the political effect over here, because East India Company came to a very ruling and overpowering company in this country. The British installed Mir Qasim as the Nawab of Bengal. The British became the paramount European power in Bengal. Robert Clive was being titled as a Lord Clive, Baron of Plassey, and also obtained a seat in the British House of Commons. Okay, this was actually after this battle. Robert Clive went back to its country, his own country, and over there he was being given the title of British House of Commons, which was said to be the most reputed title over there in Britain. Now let's come on the economic effects. In the economy of India, it was affected severely. Yes, obviously it affected because now East India Company tried to conquer the Bengal which is said to be the most important place, especially on the aspects of the trading side. Okay, as it was on the coastal regions and where usually the trading companies used to invade India. Now here they conquered the Bengal, and after that they started looting whatever the facilities were helping in or available in Bengal. Post the victory, the British started imposing severe rules and regulations on the inhabitants of the Bengal in the name of tax collection. Now what they did, they started, even they were looting, even they were just making the people to give them the payment forcefully. They also implied the high level of tax on the laborers, on the peasants especially, okay, and they have to bear all those taxes to the British East India Company. And if they were not doing what was happening, obviously the punishment was being decided by the kingship, by the ruler, by the king, queen itself. Okay, now here actually what happened in the British East India Company, as they got started affecting and they were started taking the taxes, the people became really very angry because they were not giving any sort of support to the required people, as earlier the king was helping the people to survive easily, but all these facilities were being totally stopped by the British East India Company towards the citizens or towards the inhabitants of Bengal, okay, the people who were living in the Bengal. And what actually they did, he implied high level of taxes on those people, okay. That's why they were unable to pay out any sort of taxes to East India Company. Let's discuss with the second important battle, that is said to be the Battle of Buxar. Battle of Buxar was actually being fought among the East India Company and some Indian rulers. Okay, the Indian rulers which are from the India also and which are from the Mughal Empire also. And now that, for example, this is a joint army. Actually, there were some rulers who joined with each other and they made an army against East India Company to fight, as they all knew that the East India Company was having a great impact and a great strategy and some ruling aspects and some war skills aspect were very strong. So they all joined together to make a joint army, and the joint army, which was consisting of the Nawab of that is Nawab of Oudh Shah Alam II, Nawab of Bengal Mir Qasim, and the Mughal Emperor. So all these three rulers, I repeat the name: Nawab of Oudh Shah Alam II, Nawab of Bengal Mir Qasim, and the Mughal Emperor. So these all joined together and formed the joint army against East India Company, and this Battle of Buxar was being held. Now this Battle of Buxar was actually the result of the misuse of the Dastak and the Farman. Whatever the rules and the policies were being issued by the Mughal Emperor or the Nawabs, they are not to be followed properly by the East India Company. They were doing whatever they liked to do. So this Battle of Buxar happened. Now in the next slide I am going to discuss with you about with the detail or complete introduction about the Battle of Buxar. Now let's have an introduction of Battle of Buxar. The Battle of Buxar was fought on 22nd October 1764 between the forces under the command of British East India Company led by Hector Munro and the combined army of Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Bengal, till 1763. Mir Zafar was made the second time Nawab of Bengal in 1763 by the company after the battle. Now again it had happened that after the first they had the fight with Battle of Plassey. In the Battle of Plassey, Mir Zafar helped the East India Company, and in the revenge, what they did, they made Mir Zafar as a ruling or the Nawab of Bengal. Now after some time, Nawab of Bengal, Mir Zafar lost his post, and this post was being occupied by Mir Qasim. Now Mir Qasim, after this fight again, Mir Zafar was being made the second time the Nawab of Bengal in 1763. After being defeated in 4 battles in Katwa, Giria and Udinala, the Nawab of Awadh, Shuja-ud-Dawla, and the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, they all accompanied Raja Balwant Singh of Kashi, made an alliance with Mir Qasim. Alliance, and you all know, alliance is actually a set of an agreement where they used to help each other for increasing their political power also, for increasing their economical power also. And they have been said that whenever any country or any people or any ruler is being in demand of any emergency help, yes, we will be the first one to help them. So the battle was fought at Buxar. It's a small fortified town within the territory of Bihar, located on the river bank of Ganga. It was an area about 150 where this battle had, 130 kilometers west of Patna. It was a decisive victory of the British East India Company. Again, after the Battle of Plassey, it came as the second most important victory of British East India Company, and finally they started ruling the country in India. Now over here, this war actually got an end with the Treaty of Allahabad 1765. So this war started in 1763 and which ended to the 1765. It means for 2 years, continuously for 2 years this fight was going on. And this ended with the Treaty of Allahabad. Now the Treaty of Allahabad, what does the word treaty means? Treaty means a sort of an agreement. Again an agreement related to the Allahabad. It was being said because Allahabad was a major place over there where they decided to do the agreement, and over there they decided that what are the things are going to be differentiated and what authorities will be taken up by the Nawabs. Now what the Nawabs have to do and what the Britishers have to do, and finally this war got ended in 1765 with the Treaty of Allahabad. Now, what were the causes of Buxar? Now, there were a few reasons which led to the Battle of Buxar. They were, firstly, Mir Qasim was actually wanted an independent fort. He wanted to be an independent kingdom over there, so he wanted to shift his capital to Mughal fort from Calcutta. Now, he also hired some foreign experts to train his army. This also made this cause of Battle of Buxar because the people were not liking it. He treated Indian merchants and English as same. Yes, this was actually Mir Qasim was a very impartial sort of person. So whatever the trading people were coming, either they're from India or from outside, they were be regarded as the same. Yes, you are coming only for one purpose, that is trading work. So you have to follow the rules and regulations. No exceptional priorities or privileges or benefits will be given to the outsiders. Misuse of Dastak, Farman and expansion of the trade by English was disliked by Mir Qasim. Now, as you all know, that already during the time of Battle of Plassey, during the time of Suraj-ud-Dawla, British East India Company already started misusing the rights, misusing the facilities given to them. Okay, and this was continuous in a process, and even in the reign of Mir Qasim, and Mir Qasim really hate that thing. Okay, he didn't like that why these people are not following the Farman or the Dastak or not paying the taxes towards the government, okay, towards the kingdom as other people are giving. These factors fueled the English decided to overthrow him, and war broke between Mir Qasim and company in 1763. Now all these factors made Mir Qasim against the East India Company, and East India Company also decided to end up the kingship of Mir Qasim, and this war held in 1763. So in which year did the Battle of Buxar held? Battle of Buxar held in 1763. The two important people of Battle of Buxar are Mir Qasim and East India Company. East India Company at that time was led by whom? Henry. Okay. Now here it was actually also said to be a joint army of the Indian rulers. Okay. Nawab of Oudh Shah Alam II, Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, okay, Nawab of Oudh was there, clear? And after that, one more thing that it was we said to be that Shah Alam, Suraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, okay, they all combined together and made up an army against the East India Company. Now, let's see that who were the participants in the Battle of Buxar and what did the role they played in the Battle of Buxar. Firstly, Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim was administrating the Bengal in place of Mir Zafar, the Nawab of Bengal. And you know what, he actually disliked that, as I told you, he disliked that the East India Company was not following the procedures, the Dastak, the Farmans made for the English people. So he tried to conspire against English farming and alliance with Awadh Nawab and the Mughal Emperor. Okay, so they add together and they started making a conspiracy against East India Company. Now another person was Shuja'ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh. Now, as it said earlier, the second Nawab was Shuja'ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, I said to Oudh. Okay, he was a part of the conspiracy with Mir Qasim and Shah Alam too. He was as a friend, he was just giving support to the two people, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II and also Mir Qasim. Okay, now next come with the Shah Alam Mughal Emperor. Okay, now why this Mughal Emperor Shah Alam got indulged in this war? Shah Alam got indulged in this war because actually he was a Mughal ruler, and after realizing the things that yes, the East India Company had came in India for trading purposes, but now this company is overruling or trying to overrule the country. So they actually wanted to get the throne to rule the country. Now in this case, as the Mughal rulers were already ruling the country, India, so at that time being a ruler, he didn't like this policy of East India Company, and he decided that yes, I want to overthrow, I want to make England to be out of Bengal. Okay, and for this he raised his hand, or he forwarded his friendship hand, or made himself indulge in the conspiracy against East India Company with Mir Qasim and Nawab of Awadh, that is Shuja'ud-Dawla. Now over there, three friends came into existence altogether: Mir Qasim, Shuja'ud-Dawla, and Shah Alam II. Mir Qasim, who was the Nawab of Bengal, in the place of Mir Zafar. Next, Shuja'ud-Dawla, who was the Nawab of Awadh, okay, and next was Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Okay, these all three made up a strong army to fight against East India Company. Next now comes to Hector Munro. Now Hector Munro was actually a British army major, and he was very cunning also. Okay, so what he did, he actually forward as a leader came to existence in this battle. So he leaded this battle of Buxar in on the behalf of East India Company from the English side. And you know what, after that this battle was been finished, after that Robert Clive again came back, and over there he made the signed treaties with Shuja'ud-Dawla and Shah Alam. Okay, after winning the battle of Buxar, Robert Clive came back and he made Nawab of Awadh and also Shah Alam II, the Nawab of Mughal Empire, to sign up the treaty along with Mir Qasim. Okay, they over there signed up the treaties and agreements we can say, or alliances we can say. This was being signed among them that yes, you have to follow this. As now winning this battle, we have become, East India Company have become, made himself, proved that yes, we are superior to you, and you have to do, if you really want peace and harmony inside your own country or your own place. So over there Robert Clive just made and signed a treaties with Shuja'ud-Dawla and Shah Alam II after winning the battle. Now, in the course of the Battle of Buxar, what actually happened? After this battle, or during this battle, what Mir Qasim fled to Oudh. Okay, he fled to Awadh. Now here, in this, after going to Awadh, he started making some conspiracy against East India Company with Shuja'ud-Dawla and Shah Alam II. Okay. Finally, Mir Qasim soldiers meet the English army troops directed by Major Munro in 1764. After this, the joint armies of Mir Qasim was defeated by the British. Now, in this war, as we all know, that in this battle the joint army was defeated and East India Company won this battle. Now, as to get protected from getting arrest, Mir Qasim fled away. He got extended from the battle. Okay, he escaped secretly from the battle, and other two, the Nawab of Awadh, Shah Alam II, Mughal Emperor, and Shuja'ud-Dawla, they both came and surrendered in front of the English army. And finally, the Battle of Buxar was ended with the Treaty of Allahabad in 1765. So this actually, these points are being given to make you understand that why the battle happened, what happened in that battle, and how did the battle ended. Firstly, Mir Qasim went to Awadh. He discussed each and everything with Shah Alam II and Shuja'ud-Dawla and made them convinced to fight against East India Company. They all formed a joint army and they went to meet the East India Company on a war place of Buxar. After in this result, what happened? as after looking that our army has already fighted, okay, and we are not going to win this battle in this duration, Mir Qasim escaped secretly out of the battle, okay, and Shuja-ud-Dawla and Shah Alam too, they both surrendered in front of the East India Company. Now in this surrender, what happened? The Battle of Buxar was ended with the Treaty of Allahabad done among Robert Clive, Hector Munro, and Shah Alam II and Shuja-ud-Dawla in 1765. Now, what were the result of Battle of Buxar? Mir Qasim, Shuja-ud-Dawla and Shah Alam II, they all lost the battle on 22nd October 1764. Major Hector Munro won a decisive battle and Robert Clive had a major role in that. Now here, Major Hector Munro won the decisive battle. It means without any great efforts, they very quickly and very oftenly won this battle, and Robert Clive was a major role in this battle because he was actually supporting and he was actually giving them making the planning strategies for fighting with them, and he leaded his army too. English became great power in northern India. Mir Zafar, Nawab of Bengal, was again handed over the districts of Madinapur, Vardhan and Chittagong to the English for the maintenance of their army. Now he was again being made the Nawab of Bengal. He gave some few places to East India Company army to enrich their more power, by which they can keep the maintenance of their army. The English were also being promoted to have a duty-free trade in Bengal. After the Battle of Buxar, finally they got the duty-free trade where they are not being told to pay any sort of taxes towards the Indian rulers or towards market people, okay, those who were the businessmen from whom they were doing the trading, so they were not being allowed to do so, except for a duty of 2% on the salt. Now, as salt was being also made in the coastal areas, so only 2% of the cost of the salt they have to pay in form of a duty. Otherwise, rest they were not paying any sort of duty for anything whatever they are trading for. Either it's for spices or for gold or for the pearl or any other things whatever they want from India. Now continued with the results. After the death of Mir Zafar, his minor son Najim-ud-Dawla was appointed as a Nawab. But the real power of administration was in the hands of Naib Subedar, who could be appointed or dismissed by the English. Okay, so no one have the authority now to control over the Bengal properly. Clive made a political settlements with the Emperor Shah Alam and Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh in the Treaty of Allahabad. So over there, a political settlement was being done with both the kings of Awadh and the Mughal ruler. Okay, and what were the name of the Nawab of Awadh? Shuja-ud-Dawla, and Mughal ruler Shah Alam II. So over here they made Robert Clive had a political agreement in form of the Treaty of Allahabad. Okay, so the Treaty of Allahabad is being done among how many people? 3. Robert Clive on behalf of East India Company, they had the treaty, they had an agreement with Nawab of Awadh, Shuja-ud-Dawla, and third one, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Now you all, as you know, that Shuja-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of Awadh and Shah Alam II was the Mughal ruler. So in the Treaty of Allahabad, there were the 2 treaties which were being done. Okay, firstly the Treaty of Allahabad between Robert Clive and Shuja-ud-Dawla. Okay, now here what happened? Shuja-ud-Dawla had to surrender Allahabad and Kara to Shah Alam II. Okay, he was being made to pay rupees 50 lakh to the company as war indemnity. It means a penalty. And he was being made to give Balwant Singh, the Zamindar of Banaras, full possession of his state. Okay, and Banaras was being totally taken by Balwant Singh. Now, okay, Shujauddaulah firstly he had to surrender Kara, Allahabad and Kara to Shah Alam II. Okay, next one, what he did, he was being told to give a 5 lakh rupees as a penalty to the company. Okay, just whatever the loss they had beared, the company had beared regarding during this warfare. And third one, that he was being made to give Balwant Singh, the Zamindar of Banaras, full possession of his state. Okay, so whole of the Banaras was being given under the Treaty of Allahabad to East India Company. Now, in the second part of the Treaty of Allahabad, it was being done between Robert Clive and Shah Alam II. Now, what was the agreement between them? Shah Alam was being commanded to reside at Allahabad, which was seized to him by Shujauddaulah under the company's protection. Okay, Shah Alam was being told to live and stay in the fort area of Shujauddaulah, which was being totally seized by the British East India Company, so he was not being allowed to take any more decisions. Second one, the emperor had an issue of Farman granting the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha to the East India Company in lieu of an annual payment of rupees 26 lakh. Now, here whatever they said, he said that as you have given us the farman that you have to follow this, follow that rules, okay, as you are coming for the trading purposes. Now here again Robert Clive, what he did, he made an agreement with Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor, that as you have issued so many farman against her, so many farman. Now farman, you can actually say some of the legal notices, okay, regarding the whatever anything wrong has been done by the company. So here so many as farmans were issued against the East India Company. So East India Company had said the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II that you have to give an annual payment of rupees 26 lakhs per annum. Every year there will be a penalty that you have to pay to protect your rulership, or you want us to be calm and quiet. Next, last one, Shah Alam had to abide by a provision of rupees 53 lakh to the company in return for the Nizamat functions, that is military defense, police and administration of the justice of said provinces. Now, not only Shah Alam was giving the payment for in lieu or in against the farmans whatever he made against the East India Company, but he was also being said to give 53 lakhs as a provision for the company to maintain their own Nizamat functions, okay, their own Nizamat functions. Now Nizamat functions over here means that where the kings or the rulers are taking care, especially to the soldier level, to the amusements, to the warfare, and whatever the expenses used to go on during the warfares, they used to take care and make it a treasury box over there inside their kingdom. Okay, so here Shah Alam was being told to deposit extra 23 lakh rupees to the company, okay, because by which this company can make their amusement, they can make their administration of justice, the military defense, whatever the expenses they were coming during the warfare, they had been clearing or they were maintaining those warfare in form of this provision given by Shah Alam II of rupees 53 lakhs. So this was actually the Treaty of Allahabad. Now in this, I hope it's already clear to you all that this battle was being made a very bad impact on the Mughal Emperor and other Indian rulers too, and a very great impact on the East India Company. Firstly, it was being fought a battle of Plassey, which was said to be the first battle among the Anglos and the Indian rulers. Okay, now here in this Anglo, and what happened with it ended with the Treaty of, any guesses you can give me the name of any other treaty which has been ended with the which gave an end to the Battle of Plassey? Any name which you can give, any idea that you have? I told you all that these are the things that it came to an end, that yes, you have to follow all these things in the treaty. Any idea? Just imagine. No imagination? Okay. Now here, exactly, the Battle of Plassey was not ended with any of the battle tanks. No treaty was being signed, but over there, directly the troop conquered the Bengal and it came into existence. But what about the Battle of Buxar? The Battle of Buxar got ended with the Treaty of Allahabad. Now in this Treaty of Allahabad, it was done among East India Company. Okay, and on behalf of the East India Company, who was there? Robert Clive. Oh, great. Now next one was Shah Alam II, who was the Nawab of Awadh. And the third one, Shujauddaulah, who was the Nawab of Awadh. And Shah Alam II was the Mughal Emperor. Okay, so Battle of Buxar and Battle of Plassey came to be the most important battle in this term of encouraging or establishing the East India Company power inside our country. So I hope you all have understood the meaning of or the contents of Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. Okay, so please do study it properly. Till then, have a great day ahead and thank you for watching this video.